Welcome to the Making Waves at Sea Level podcast with your host, Tom Singer. In each episode, we will explore the interesting stories of business executives, entrepreneurs, and industry leaders who are shaking things up and growing their companies. It is time to make some waves. Now here's your host, Tom Singer.
Well, hey there. You have found another episode of Making Waves at Sea Level. Thank you so much for tuning in and for coming along on the journey of this show that is now over 630 episodes. I've been doing it for 6.5 years. When I started this show, I had no idea that I would actually become kind of a professional podcaster. Not only do I make a little bit of money from this show, but I actually host 2 other shows with a third one in the works for associations and now a company where I am their talent. I'm the one who hosts their show. I didn't know that I was creating something. Additionally, during the pandemic, I took these skills of interviewing and turned them into being the master of ceremonies for all kinds of corporate and association events that had to pivot from being in person to online. And I tell people all the time that you don't want a speaker in a virtual world to just talk for an hour. Better let them talk for 15 minutes. Let me come on as your host and interview them. And I tell these clients, look, I've done over 1,000 interviews. My job is to get the information out there and make it fun. So I didn't know 6.5 years ago that we'd live in a pandemic and that my skills from this podcast would be part of the way I make my living. But I'm having a lot of fun. And today is going to be one of those days where we have some fun because we are talking to somebody, again, in that cannabis world. I've got somebody who has a company that makes flavored teas with CBD in there. And so some of you may be very familiar with CBD. It is now legal in all 50 states. We're not talking THC. We're not getting you high with this tea, but it's a relaxing blend. And we're going to talk a little bit about why to do it in a homeopathic, natural way today, because today our guest is Amada Sizemore. And Amanda is the CEO and co-founder of Twin Flame Teas. And I met her on Clubhouse. Clubhouse is kind of this hot new app. If you haven't found it, we've talked about it on several shows here. I don't know that it's the greatest thing ever, but it has definitely put the social back in social media. And I've been a guest on like 5 podcasts from people I've met, and I've found really interesting guests I may not have found otherwise, like Amanda. So Amanda, welcome to Making Waves at Sea Level.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad we connected. Clubhouse has been probably the best networking tool in the business industry in a long time. It's very refreshing.
Well, and in your industry, in the CBD and cannabis industry, I'm trying to learn the industry. I work for an executive search firm called Stanton Chase International, and it's one of the leading, if not the leading firm, placing executives into these fast-growing companies. There are companies out there that are going from sort of that mom-and-pop startup to, having dozens, if not hundreds of employees and going multiple state. And finding the right employees for that is kind of tough. And so I work with some people who are really kind of the leaders in executive search in that area. And because it's a growing industry, I'm just trying to learn more about it. I'm trying to learn what's going on. I believe it's going to go legal in all 50 states. And when that happens, I think that we're going to see unprecedented growth that we have never seen in any industry as it gets legalized for recreational use. And we're already seeing that since a couple years ago, CBD was federally legalized. We've just seen these companies just explode. So I'm trying to learn the industry. And so that's why I've met people like you through Clubhouse and other outlets. So tell me a little bit about Twin Flame Tea and where it came about, why you started it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, actually, it started as just a tea company. My other co-founder is actually both my boyfriend, my partner in life, and also my partner in the company. And we love farmers markets. We're very much into supporting local is very important to us. And we always go to the farmer's market, and we're from Vegas. It's crazy hot here. And all I wanted was iced tea. It was about 112 degrees. And they had, juices and slushies and sodas, and there was no tea. And I thought, how can there not be any tea? No, this was a huge farmer's market. There were none. So I said, because I have kind of, made some of my own teas in the past. And I said, oh my gosh, I could sell so many teas at this farmer's market. I could sell so many glasses of tea. And a friend of mine that I knew was in the CBD industry, and he was telling me about the CBD that he had that was the best CBD you could get. And he went on and on and on about how great it was. It's water soluble, it's powder, it's nanoized, there's no odor, there's no flavor. We spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars on this. It's the best, it's the best. And we had been familiar with CBD, like I had used tinctures and stuff before, which I think is how most people kind of get into it.
And can you explain what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. The tinctures are, they come normally in these little glass bottles, and they're mixed with some type of an MCT or an oil. And then normally people will put them sublingual, like under the tongue. Some people might mix them in a drink, but my problem with them was no matter what flavor they were, I could always taste the hemp. And I don't like that flavor. I don't enjoy it. And there's something about it to me that always felt medicinal, which is not to say that it's bad. I just all of a sudden had like one of those aha moments, and I was like, we need to put our friend CBD in our tea, because tea is already relaxing. And what better way to make it more relaxing than to put some CBD in it? And we actually, on a whim, just so happened the World Tea Expo was coming to Vegas the next week. I kid you not. This happened in 2 weeks' time. From
I want a glass of iced tea to I am now starting a tea company.
Yes, that's exactly how it happened. And it sounds crazy, but I said, hey, I'll throw a couple $1,000s at getting us a booth, and let's see if we can just take pre-orders. We hand-packed a couple of bags of this tea, and we took it with us. And within hours, we had sold so much that we looked at each other and thought, okay, now what do we do? I mean, we had no idea. We just thought we're going to need to order more tea. We're going to need to order more herbs. We're going to need to order, we don't have bags to put all these orders in. And it's just gone from there. It's really grown from there.
So why do you think CBD has gotten so popular so fast? I would say 5 years ago, most people didn't even know what it was. When we thought of cannabis, you thought of marijuana, you thought of a joint when you were in college or whatever. And all of a sudden, this whole other ingredient that's not the THC, that's the CBD, some people aren't sure that the claims are true. Some people swear by the claims. But either side of that argument, you can't deny that the CBD has made waves, right? It has gone from obscurity to everybody pretty much knows it exists, even if they don't know all the details. Why do you think that's happened?
I think there's a couple of reasons. I mean, CBD, so when people say CBD, there is CBD that comes from the marijuana plant. The CBD that we use is hemp derived.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. What's the difference between marijuana and hemp? I always thought they were the same thing.
They're completely different. Some people will argue that, one is a male, one is a female, but they are actually a different categorization of plant, but they are closely related cousins, is the best way to put it. But hemp is very heavy CBD, and it contains trace amounts of THC. The cousin, marijuana, is heavy THC and has much lower amounts of CBD. Both have their benefits. To us, we just knew we wanted to go CBD. That was more the direction we always kind of wanted to head. And also, legalization from legality. Regulation-wise,
there's a lot less regulation around CBD because it's legal in all 50 states.
Exactly. There's a lot less regulations. And personally, I felt really that what we were talking about doing with the idea of, relaxation, some anti-inflammatory properties, using CBD it was just the obvious choice to us.
So have you always been this entrepreneurial? I know you said you told me in our pre-interview that you've worked in real estate, which is entrepreneurial unto itself. Because if you're a realtor, you eat what you kill. You got to be entrepreneurial to get those clients. But have you always been one who's like, ooh, I have an idea. Let's invest and see if we can let's sell it before we have the product. Is that sort of in Amanda's DNA?
Absolutely. I feel like I love creating, as I think most entrepreneurs do. And I've always had businesses. I've always worked for myself. And it's absolutely incredible. I think there's nothing quite like taking something from just an idea in your head one day to something that, we have, I think, like 11,000 followers on Instagram now, and we see all their pictures with our tea. It's mind blowing. It's absolutely insane that happens.
So how long ago was that World Trade Tea show in Las Vegas? How long ago was that?
We did that at the beginning, I believe, of 2019.
Okay, so you're 2 years in to the company.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the growth. How has the growth of Twin Flame been? What's been going on?
It's been amazing. I think like a lot of companies, we had to pivot a little bit during the pandemic. We were doing a lot of in-person events. We were, we started out also white labeling for people. We don't white label anymore, but white labeling is when a company comes to you, they say, we like your product and we want to put our name on it. And that's really how we started taking those orders. And then we said, okay, we kind of have to pivot because a lot of these places are not having people in them anymore. And, like some hotels, some restaurants. And we said, okay, we have to make this a brand. So we made it a brand and we just started doing influencer marketing and affiliate marketing. And it's been a really incredible ride. We've gotten to see so many different ideas of how a company can manifest itself in a short amount of time.
So how many flavors do you have? Tell me about the products.
Yeah, we have, normally we have between about 11 and 13 flavors. We do change out probably about like 3 or 4 of them seasonally. And then we keep some of our amazing ones. Like you were saying, your wife really enjoyed. We have a pumpkin spice that's very popular. It was incredibly popular in the fall. It's still popular now because it's still cold. But, we move into some lighter flavors during the spring and lots of amazing berry flavors. We have a berry tea that I am not kidding you. When it comes, we get all of the fruits and stuff. And when we blend our teas, they keep that one away from me, like some of our employees, because I will eat it like it's fruit snacks. It's just strawberries and pineapple and blueberries all mixed together.
So those are
amazing.
My favorite flavors, right? I'm a berry guy all the way.
Oh my gosh. You have to try our berry boost. The tea is out of this world. And it's very rare. We have we try and bring in some unique flavors too. That is a purple tea base, which is pretty rare. We've got some rooibos. We have, some pu'er, which is a fermented black tea. And really just the tea world in general is also pretty incredible. A lot of people don't know that all tea comes from one plant. So green tea, black tea, white tea, it's all the same exact plant. The difference is just how you pick the leaves. Do you dry them? Do you roast them? Do you ferment them? But it's all from the exact same plant that you can make all those different tea flavors.
I did not know, but
a lot of people don't. It's pretty incredible.
Well, it's like coffee, right? People don't realize that the light, medium, and dark roast, the more you roast, the less caffeine you're going to have. It's the lighter one, it's like the opposite of what you think or something like that. And I didn't realize that. Yes,
absolutely. And in tea, it really depends. Some of the lighter ones are lighter in caffeine, but then, you get into some of these yerba mates or some of these green teas, they have, double the caffeine of your cup of coffee.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's really, truly incredible. Both the CBD and the tea, how they work with your body is amazing.
So as the company grows, what are some of the growing pains? What are the hard parts of Twin Flame Tea?
Sure. I mean, for us, it's always like keeping up with regulations. Is always a thing. Packaging regulations are always changing. And so we've learned, maybe get our packaging in smaller quantities. We've gone through definitely some growing pains, but I think always for us and for most people in this industry, it's educating the consumer. Because like you said, a lot of people kind of have this, either a stigma about it that it's a drug, like they think of like in a negative connotation, not like, they wouldn't think twice about popping an ibuprofen or something. Or they think it just doesn't work at all. And, to that point, we, of course, we don't diagnose anybody or tell anybody, that we have a cure. We don't. We have an amazing product that can help with a lot of things. And there are thousands of papers of research that have been done. Mm-hmm. There's actually the most famous one is probably Epidiolex that people have heard of. It's a CBD drug that was approved to treat epilepsy. So, there are definitely benefits, but I always tell everyone, know what's in your product. Ask for their lab results. Not enough people in the industry, I think, are being adamant about educating people on how do you read your lab results? Like, you look at it, great. What does it mean? So, we do a lot of that. We really work on educating the consumer for us and other companies. It brings the whole entire industry up to educate people.
So what do you think is going to be the big shakeup in the CBD/THC cannabis world in the months and years to come?
I think the same thing with any industry when regulations get changed is, there will kind of be this like race to first in line. And we know personally some very, very big tea names, like they're on all your grocery store shelves and they've reached out to us. So we know they're already there. They approached us when we first got that booth 2 years ago. Right. So it's not that it's under the radar. They know. They're just waiting. And like most things, they let the little guys do their research and development for them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, This is fascinating. I've got a couple more questions for you. But first, I have to thank the sponsor of this episode. So this episode, like all of them, is brought to you by Podfly Productions. Podfly, they take the time and the headache out of creating your own podcast. They set you up with the right equipment, training, and guidance to ensure you're going to sound amazing. Podfly does all the heavy lifting and that pesky technical work so that you can focus on creating great content, growing your audience, and interviewing really cool people like Amada Sizemore. Hey, if you want to start a podcast, and I know that so many of you do, jump over to podfly.net/coolthings and check out the offer that they have for the listeners of this show. So Amanda, when I started the show, it was originally called Cool Things Entrepreneurs Do. What is the coolest thing that you are doing with Twin Flame Tea?
The coolest thing that we are doing. I mean, to me, I think we are changing the majority of people that we work with, our customers, where their tea that they were always drinking never had CBD. Now their tea that they're drinking always has CBD. And that's just a huge change in a daily routine for people. And also, I think we've really done a great job at building a community that brings awareness to, like I said, not just the CBD aspect. That's definitely a really great, unique property about us, but we really dive into the herbs as well in our teas. We have a really great one coming out that has valerian root in it. And
I don't know what valerian root is. Why would I want that in my tea?
Valerian root, actually, there's been studies done on it that it has a very similar effect as would like a Xanax, but without any side effects. It's a very light, natural, it has natural sedative properties. It helps with people who have trouble sleeping. It's just an incredible herb. And we have it, I'm sure I will send you a message when we're ready to release it, but we have it in a vanilla and caramel rooibos tea, which is just to die for.
Yum. Much like I love berries, vanilla and caramel are actually a food group.
They are. Yes, absolutely.
So as you look at what you've done in the last couple of years as an entrepreneur, what advice do you have for people who are in a growth-oriented, fast-changing industry where, sometimes it's not just about making waves, sometimes it's a tsunami coming right at them. What advice do you have for other business leaders?
I would just say to not allow the speed bumps. I call them like the traffic tickets, where you cost yourself some money or you make a wrong decision because you're going to. Don't let that derail you because, you might get like hit a speed bump or something like that. But if you keep going, you will get to where you want to be. But what we've seen in general, people who have started in similar businesses kind of hit those first hurdles and they just kind of give up. And we haven't done that. We've just continued trucking along.
So your business partner / life partner, I assume the name Twin Flame Tea comes from the fact that you guys are twin flames. Is that where the name came from?
Yes. We've always said that we're twin flames. And we knew instantly that would be the name of the company, especially when we decided to add CBD, because a lot of people think twin flame is a word for soulmate. Mm-hmm. But twin flame is actually when the same soul is split in half. And it's said to be transcendent. And we thought we want to give people, transcendent tea. We want to give them heaven in a cup, so to speak. And that's what we base our flavors on and just the overall feeling.
What's his background? What was his career before starting a tea company?
He was actually a stockbroker. And he is still trading away as we talk right now. But yeah, he's always been also very entrepreneurial.
So he's a business numbers guy then. So you got kind of a really good balance going on. If you're sort of the entrepreneur, let's get things done. Let's buy a booth. Let's spend $2,000 and get a booth. He's the numbers guy.
He's the numbers guy, and he tries to always tell me yes when he can. And then sometimes he tells me like, no, we can't do that right now because...
That's just being a smart boyfriend.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he is, though. He runs all the numbers and he makes sure that, if I want to invest in creating some new tea, that we can do it and how to do it and, how to do it most affordably.
So, Amanda, as you look out into the world of business, mm-hmm. Who do you admire? Who do you look at and say, wow, she or he, they make waves?
Oh, my gosh. There are so many. One of my favorites, and actually I briefly spoke with her a little bit on Clubhouse, is Sophia Omaruso.
I'm not familiar with her.
Oh, okay. She's incredible. She actually, she released a book called Girl Boss. And it's a quick read. I recommend everyone, but especially women, read it. And she started a clothing company from an eBay store and, grew it to hundreds of millions and maybe even possibly, I'm trying to remember that she hit the $1 billion number, but I think she did. And she's been through everything, building a company, losing a company, restarting. So anyway, yeah, she's probably one of the ones I look up to most.
God, I want to have her on Making Waves at Sea Level. Jeez.
Hey, I would put in a word for you, but I don't think I can reach her like that.
Well, maybe somebody can. So she sounds pretty cool.
Jump on Clubhouse.
There you go. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing the story of your company on Making Waves at Sea Level. You're still kind of a tiny little company, but I think we're going to hear more from Twin Flame Tea. And someday people are going to be like, Tom, how do you know Amanda? She's like the boss. She's like the big boss. How do you know her? I'll be like, I interviewed her way back when.
That would be incredible. And I also made a promo code for any of your listeners, 20% off if they just use the promo code Making Waves.
We love that. Making Waves will get you a discount on Twin Flame Tea. And I can tell you, I can only speak for the pumpkin spice, but before we did the interview, she sent me some. And my wife had some, I had some. And then my wife has just sort of taken the package over to her side of the kitchen. And apparently, what I read a review, I haven't done it yet. And if there's any left, I'll have to go check. They say that if you add sugar to the pumpkin spice tea, it becomes a pumpkin pie in a cup. Or what did you say? Heaven in a cup.
It is, absolutely.
So it's really delicious without sugar. We try not to eat too much sugar, so we haven't added it. But if there's any left, I might put a big heaping spoonful in it and sit there and have my pumpkin pie in a glass.
Give it a go. Indulge. You deserve it.
Awesome. Well, Amanda, again, thank you for being here. And thank you to everybody who tuned in and listened. I say it every single time. If it wasn't for the audience, why would we do this show? I mentioned it earlier that this isn't my only podcast. If you work in the world of product lifecycle management software, I know many of you are like, what? But if you work in PLM, I am the co-host of the Digital Enterprise Society podcast. If you work in the meetings business, you may want to check out the Webinar Talk Show. My friend Eliz Green and I have hosted, I think 80 interviews since the pandemic began with people sort of in the events business and other industries around reasons to keep trying to plot ahead. Don't cancel your events, go hybrid, go virtual. And then how do you communicate your value in this virtual world? And then finally, in January, I launched, along with the National Speakers Association, we launched a brand new show called Speakernomics. If you make any part of your income promoting your business or your whole business like I do as a speaker using the spoken word, as maybe you're a keynote speaker, maybe you're an MC, facilitator, trainer, or even a podcaster, check out Speakernomics, because every episode has 2 tips on how you can make more money using the spoken word. And I think it's a pretty good show, but I'd love your feedback. So go check that out. Also, be back here for Making Waves at Sea Level. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday. We're going to be back in a couple of days with somebody who's making waves, who's just as cool as Amada Sizemore. And you're thinking, how will you ever find anybody as cool as the Twin Flame Tea Lady? Well, we're going to do it. We'll get somebody just as cool in here in a couple days. But go out there, flex your entrepreneurial business muscles, make sure your career ladder is against the right wall. And while you're doing all that, have some fun. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Making Waves at Sea Level podcast. Without your listening to these in-depth conversations, there would be no show. Connect with Tom at tomsinger.com and follow him on Twitter and Instagram at tomsinger.